If you need, para que necesitas interpretación en español, también es una opción. Para acceder a la interpretación hacia el español, hagan clic en el globo en la parte inferior de la pantalla y seleccionen español. ¿Sí? But I'm going to speak mostly in English because, as you can see, my Spanish, especially when I'm stressed, is just absolutely awful. But you have an option for Spanish as well. Our beautiful, amazing Lara Weaver is responsible for that, and she's already interpreting since probably the moment we started talking. So thank you so much, Lara, for that. It's amazing that you're doing this. Uh, in a second, Uh, I will introduce you the wonderful, passionate professionals that will be the heroes of this webinar. But first, I wanted to share with you a quote from dedication that I got in a very special book from Lucia Bawot, the author of We Belong, the anthology of Colombian women coffee farmers, who is the main catalyst behind the idea of today's meeting. So this is this wonderful book. And 2 years ago, in 2023, Lucia wrote to me, Łukasz, life has its magical ways to connect people, and I'm so happy that this magic spark put us in touch. You are now part of the moment and movement that makes the invisible visible. And that was 2 years ago, and I am absolutely honored and touched by the fact that I can now be here and help out with this webinar, because during this last 2 years, it was absolutely amazing how Lucia went from publishing the book to Sana to now having these initiatives, and it's just absolutely wonderful. And we cannot talk about advancing gender equity through mental health without being united. Women can lead the discussion, but men should acknowledge it as an important topic, be supportive, and actively take action as well. Sorry, that's a courier. All gender identities should be respected and acknowledged. And I really hope that myself, I can at least encourage other men and be an example and to be proactive and compassionate. Well, a boy can dream, right? As a technicality, you can use the chat to ask questions during the event. I will be keeping track of those questions. You can also use reactions with hearts or with other reactions when you see something interesting. And at the end, we'll have a round of questions where you can interact directly with the speakers. So you can say your questions out loud, or, Jesus Christ, or I can just read the questions for you. Just couriers in Spain always come exactly when you need them, right? You're in the middle of an important webinar. So unfortunately, he will not be able to communicate with me today, and I hope I will not lose that package. Anyways, so we have the interpretation. You can always ask the questions. The webinar is being recorded, so it will be later available for those who want to share and review it. We also hope that this webinar will have a ripple effect and the ideas and inspiration will reach a wider audience. But we can only achieve that with the help of all of you. So let's try to do great things together. Without further ado, I would like to introduce the two main organizers of this amazing project and this webinar, Diana and Marilena, who are the presidents of the International Coffee Women Alliance Spain and Greece, and absolutely wonderful professionals who not only have great ideas, but actually put them into action and change our industry. So, dear ladies, would you like to say a few words?
Marilena, would you like to go first?
Oh, thank you very much, Lucas. Thank you very much, Diana. It's on behalf of IWCA Greece. I'm delighted to welcome you all here. This international collaboration between our chapter, IWCA Spain, and Sun organization is very, very special for us. It gathers us all together around an issue that has been overlooked for far too long, and that is mental health for women in the coffee industry in producing countries. So I'm very happy that we are opening this important conversation today, and thanks to Lucia, of course, this is possible. And thank you everyone for being here, and let's keep up the conversation.
Great. Thank you so much, Marilena. Thank you, Lucas, for the introduction. So good evening, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Diana Ayala, and as a president of IWCA Spain, it is an honor for me to welcome you to this important conversation. I want to begin by expressing my gratitude to our members from here, because without this, we cannot, with their support and their help, we cannot be together here. So thank you so much for the commitment and dedication, my teammates, my co-founder, Chantal. It's amazing to be here together. So tonight is also a very special milestone. This is our first collaboration between IWCA Spain and Greece. More to come. So we are very proud to join forces and create a space where we can share knowledge, raise awareness, and strengthen our community in such an important topic. So thank you so much, Lucia, for bringing up this information to us. Also, Markela, because this is going to share very important information. Artemis, my tocaya, thank you so much also for joining. Lucas for leading also. And of course, Marilena to work with me on this. Thank you so much for being here together and build a strong and more supportive coffee community. So, Lucas, coming back to you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And moving forward, I would like to introduce to you an absolute legend of our industry, Artemis Gavridou. I hope I didn't butcher your surname too much.
It's
Who?
difficult. So it's Gavrilidou.
Gavrilidou, who
Okay.
will lead the panel and discussion with our guests. So, Artemis, the microphone is yours.
Hello to you all that came here today. I'm Artemis Gavrilidou, as Lucas said. I'm very happy to be here and leading this conversation and be with all you together this afternoon for us. I will say no more. I will start with Lucia. Thank you very much, Lucia, for being here. Lucia is a photographer, but also a pioneer with her initiative to start Sana. So please, Lucia, share a little bit about you, a little bit about Sana, and a little bit about why it matters.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I always like to start these types of webinars saying thank you, because I know now more than ever, we have such poverty of time. There's so many things being thrown at us. So you being here means a lot to me and a lot to Sana. So yeah, I'll give a little introduction. Let me share my screen with you all. Okay, I think you can see it all now, right? Super. So yeah, I always like to start these webinars also saying that we're going to talk about mental health, but mental health is not only a topic that is related to women coffee farmers. It's something that touches all of us. So I always like to start asking you to think about a woman in your life and take a little, like 30 seconds to think about this woman in your life that you want to choose today, about maybe the work she had to do, maybe stuff she couldn't do, and remind ourselves that maybe a lot we have way more privilege and opportunities than that woman that we're thinking. And if you want to share with us the name or the person that you thought about, feel free to put it in the chat. For me, I always think about my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. She's been an inspiration to me. And I think partly of why I'm doing what I'm doing now is thanks to her story and the things that she couldn't do, she was not allowed to do. So yeah, I see here my grandmother. Super. Yeah, I think grandmothers are women that inspire our lives so much. So yeah, thank you for sharing. So yeah, today we're going to talk about mental health. But before we talk about mental health, I'm going to share a little bit about who I am, because maybe not all you guys here know me. So my name is Lucia Bawot. I was born and raised in Colombia. Currently, I'm in Colombia, but I live in the United States. And I spent 12 years working as a photographer and filmmaker for leading coffee companies in the coffee industry. So this took me to travel throughout Central and South America. I feel super honored to have the opportunity to engage with so many coffee families and see places that other people will never be able to see. So after working in the coffee industry in this endeavor for 12 years, I started feeling that I wanted to create something on my own, that I had a voice and I had a lot to say, but I was only the photographer. I was not the coffee professional. So because of that, I started working on my first book. My first book is called We Belong, and is an anthology of Colombian women coffee farmers, as Luca shared. This is a book that basically came out of frustration because I started feeling that my voice didn't matter, that I was never going to be granted that key to fully belong into the coffee industry because I was a photographer. I was not a coffee professional. And then after looking through my portfolio, it was pretty evident that I didn't have enough stories of women being the protagonists. There are women in family portraits, in portraits with their partners, some photos of them doing some coffee activities, but overall, they were not the protagonists. And that made me feel pretty disappointed of myself, being a woman, being Colombian, having coffee roots in my blood, because on my maternal side, both of my grandparents were coffee farmers and coffee pickers too. So I decided to pursue this endeavor that seemed impossible at the time and created my first book. The book is not only a photography book. Pretty soon, when I started traveling throughout Colombia, I realized how important it was to also share the stories of these women and the human aspect of their stories. Not only the fact that they're toiling coffee in a coffee plantation, but that they're also human like us, and they go through a lot of human experiences just like us. So that's when I published my book. So it took me to north to south of Colombia, visited more than 62 women coffee farmers and pickers. And even though I'm Colombian and I had spent so much time in farms, this trip was totally different because I was not there to capture photos for a client. I was there to be super open and curious to learn the stories of these families and to really be there to see what was happening, right? So published the book in 2023. And one thing that really stuck with me while I did these trips is that a lot of these women were carrying a lot of emotional burden, and they didn't have spaces where they could put all these things down, where they could process, where they could openly talk without being criticized. And this really stuck with me because I'm a big advocate for mental health, not only now as being the leader of SANA, but way before, because I've gone through my own mental health challenges and always been so open about it. So maybe that's why I was like pretty aligned when I was traveling and I started hearing all these women telling me a lot of things. And by the end of the conversation, saying, this is the first time I'm saying this out loud, or this is the first time I'm sharing this experience with someone. And that really like took me by surprise. It's like, how is it possible that we talk so much about women coffee farmers and gender equity within our coffee industry, but these women seem not to had the opportunity to speak. So that stuck with me. And I published the book in 2023 in March, and I had made a commitment that I was going to send some of the proceeds back to all the women that I visited, the 62. And when the time came, that was May 2023, I started thinking, what can I do with this money? I didn't want to make it transactional. I felt that I had built such strong relationships with these families and these women in particular. So what can I do, right? Like, I didn't want to feel that, okay, I know what you guys need, or I'm going to give you guys this money because you need it so much. So I started thinking and like kind of thinking about the memories that really stood with me after publishing the book. And I kept thinking about these interviews because for me, these interviews were more than interviews. They almost felt that they were therapy for them, but therapy for me. I always say that I never imagined that these women could have given me so much. And I think they still don't know how much they taught me and they healed me as a woman, as a Colombian woman. So that's when the idea of creating this pilot that was called Beans to Minds came to be an idea. So I started thinking, okay, I've been working in the sustainability side of things in the coffee industry. That's what I did. I documented sustainability programs. And I had never heard any of the companies mention well-being, mention wellness of farmers, women, coffee farmers, or any worker. So I say, okay, if no one has done it, why don't we try it? And I in my head, I was a little bit apprehensive because I'm Colombian and I know the stigma that surrounds mental health. Seeing a psychologist for a lot of people still is like something that they will never do. And when you mention to someone that you're going to see a therapist, they will tell you that you're crazy or what's going on with you. So I was a little bit apprehensive, but I trust my instinct and I trust those conversations. And I created Beans to Minds and I invited all the women that were part of the book to be part of this program. And if you guys want to learn more, you can feel free to scan the QR code. There's all the information, outcomes from the pilot, what we learn, what we capture, things that I never expected to find working with these women. So I don't want to go too in deep on the pilot because basically is what Sana is right now. It's an improved version of the pilot. But basically for me, what it was really important when I was thinking about creating this pilot is that it needed to be integrative, it needed to be accessible, and more importantly, it needed to be a program that was designed, put in the context of these women first, right? It needed to be integrative because when I started looking for organizations that maybe had done some similar work, I couldn't find any. And what I found was like government entities offering just isolated therapy. And the thing is that is good when you have some experience and you have been open and you have tried therapy. But when you haven't been able to even talk about what it is, when you haven't seen it and you haven't tried it, firsthand, therapy is not going to help you alone. You need a support, you need to be guided, you need to be equipped with the knowledge to know why you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing. So that's what we did with the pilot. In the pilot, we had 39 women coffee farmers from 7 different regions of Colombia, both farmers and pickers, from ages 18 to 78. So we had a pretty diverse group. All of the women were able to access all the services, teletherapy, so virtual therapy, all the educational component. And the most important that I still believe is the most important is that community connection and really being able to hear someone else's story that is a woman that is similar to you, lives in the same context, and that has gone through other things or the same things as you. So when I finished this pilot, it was only a commitment, and I never thought I was going to replicate this. I never thought it was going to grow into something else. I was really happy with the results. 82% of the women that participated mentioned that they wanted to continue participating in a program like this. 92% of them said that they were able to improve the relationship with their families and especially with their children and their partners, which is really important. But for me, what really, really stuck with me after finishing this program is that gender equity has to start with mental health. And this is something that I have never heard in the coffee industry. We hear that there are programs of gender equity where they train women on different topics, right? Like we offer education, we train them in best agricultural practices, how they can grow a coffee that has better quality. But I had never heard mental health being the core component of gender equity. And why do I think still, and I believe deeply that this is where it has to start, is because through the pilot, we found that these women were lacking on emotional awareness. So basically, they didn't know how they feel. They didn't even know how others feel. And a lot of them, most of them, I will say, had low self-esteem and low self-confidence. They were really lacking on those two areas. And the most important one is that they had not enough tools to communicate assertively and solve issues within their families and their community dynamics. So when we saw all those outcomes, for me, it became evident. It's like, okay, so we start with education about quality, education about like finances. But these women don't even know who they are, how they feel. They don't even know how to communicate assertively. So how are they going to be able to express how they really feel? How are they going to be able to be part of the community? How are they going to be able to go and take on leadership roles, which is one of the things we hear a lot, that women coffee farmers need to be in leadership positions, that they need to own more land, that they need to be the ones in charge of everything, right? And that sounds beautiful. But I always think like we're asking them a lot without even asking them what they really need or what they feel they need, right? So for me, mental health has to start with gender equity, because gender equity starts within you. You first need to understand how much you are worth. What are your values? What are your strengths? Where do you want to go? Why don't you like here? What dynamics need to be changed? And change cannot happen through a training. Change cannot happen through someone giving it to you. Change has to be developed and has to start within you. And on top of that, as we all know, women coffee farmers have a lot of burden, because a lot of them not only do farm work, but they also do household work. And on top of that, they also do the caregiving. So they have no time for themselves to even sit down and think, okay, what do I need? How do I feel? And they have normalized a lot of their family dynamics and the cultural like expectations. And the only way to change these mindsets, or at least to start giving it like a space and like thinking, okay, maybe I can change some perspectives, it has to start with your own conversations and introspection. So that's why, like, for me, this was my takeaway from the pilot. And then it came Sana. So this was done in 2023. A year went by, and I kept hearing from a lot of these women on how they were still using a lot of the tools they learned throughout the pilot, and how it was really useful, that they have changed so much, how they were raising their kids, how they were talking to their partners, that they were able to process in the immense grieving that they had before the pilot. And the whole year, I kept hearing from them. And this really, for me, was impressive, because like I still believe change takes a lot of time, but they kept continuously sharing with me all this information. So in 2020, at the beginning of this year, I kept thinking like, it's kind of unfair that only 39 women are going to have access to this incredible program that I believe so deeply, and that these women have expressed how important and how useful and helpful it was. So I decided, again, as it happened with my book, when I started working on my book, there was not another book about women coffee farmers in Colombia. And I felt it's my responsibility. I'm Colombian. I work in coffee. I have coffee roots in my blood. I felt the same with Sana. I said, okay, if I decided to create this model, if I pour all my heart and I really made it high quality, hired the best professionals in the field in Colombia, and I saw the impact, I need to make this bigger. More women need to access this kind of support. So that's when I decided to create Sana. So in January this year, I created Sana. So Sana is a nonprofit that supports women coffee farmers through an integrative program that focuses on mental health and wellness. And how we do it is that we blend teletherapy, so virtual therapy, virtual education, which we have created an incredible curriculum that is interactive, that has been created for them, tailored for them, where we little by little, week by week, we start sharing certain information. First, we start with more psychoeducation, so teaching them what is mental health, why is it important, what to expect from a therapy session, why it's important to do therapy. And then we start diving deeper and deeper into heavier topics and topics that they're exploring with their psychologists, until we reach the end of the program. And they are pretty equipped with a lot of tools and understanding on why this is important. And as I mentioned before, we have another component that is the community-based support. So basically, throughout this virtual space, we not only send information in one way, but we also receive a lot of feedback. A lot of our content is content that prompts these women to participate, to share information with us, and to interact among them. And for me, and based on what I have read of the studies that have been done, this is the most important aspect, because yes, mental health has this individual component, introspection, talking about stuff that you have lived through. But to make this sustainable, this change sustainable, you need a community that can hold you, a community where you feel that you can speak. And I think a lot of these women are lacking on this aspect because of their geographical location. They only have their families around them. Sometimes they have some neighbors, but a lot of the times they don't even want to share any of these topics or any of these experiences with those neighbors, because they know that they're going to be judged, that they're going to be, that this neighbor, if they mention it to a neighbor, the neighbor is going to share it with everyone else. So really, here is where I have seen a lot of the change and the impact of this program. And the idea with Sana is that we want to strengthen their emotional well-being, so these women can live healthier and more fulfilling lives. Because we always talk about productivity, we always talk about quality in coffee, but we can have the most resistant variety and we can invest so much in regenerative agriculture, which is really important. But we don't have healthy humans, and humans that are that have agency, we won't have coffee. Or we will have poor communities that, and I'm meaning only poor financially, but poor emotionally and psychologically and physically. So this is what we're doing in Sana. So our program is 100% virtual. All of these women access all the services through their phones. And this is huge. And I think this is the key aspect of why this program has become so successful. Because as we mentioned before, these women have poverty of time, just like us, but even worse. They cannot leave their farms because they do so much. And imagine now these women mentioning to the family, I'm going to leave the farm for 4 hours because I'm going to see a psychologist, with all the stigma that surrounds mental health. This will create just more issues within their family dynamics. So for them, it's been incredible to be able to access all the services virtually through their phones. But also they have been able to open up more because they're not there with a professional in front of them. They don't know this person. They know this person doesn't know anyone in their community. So they have mentioned to us through our surveys that they have been able to say things that otherwise they would never have been able to say to anyone. And that's where the healing begins, right? When you finally say this thing aloud that is so heavy within us and we don't want to say it. So that's one thing that has been really helpful for them. And our programs are small. We have cohorts from 10 to 40 women. We try to keep them small so women feel they have a space, they're being heard, they can participate. Right now, we have 6 cohorts with 66 women coffee farmers in Colombia from 6 different regions. And yeah, lastly, what I will say is like the main goals of Sana when we think about women coffee farmers is to break cycles of silence, to be able to strengthen their emotional awareness, and lastly, so they can finally gain some agency themselves, their personal agency of understanding and having the independence and the clarity to know how they can participate in their families and in their communities. Because a lot of them, from our surveys and the data we have collected, they know what's going on. They know there are things they don't like in the farms and the way that the farms are being run, but they don't know how to say these things. So after the program, they're able to, like during the program, they're able to practice with the therapist to understand how can they communicate this, how can they start this conversation, where the change has to start. And towards the end, they mentioned to us, finally, I was able to talk with my partner, or I was able to talk with my kids and mention that thing that I was never able to say before. So this is what we're doing right now. And we're a nonprofit based in the US, but currently all our programs, we're running the programs in Colombia. Of course, our idea is to expand, and we would love to go into other origins. But I believe deeply as the leader of Sana that exponential growth has to be slow in order to keep a high quality. And more importantly, these women are the ones shaping our program. It's not just Sana. They're the ones telling us what they need, what they don't like, what more can we offer So you need time to be able to gather that evidence and to be able to make those shifts and adjustments. And if we want to move into another origin, we will need to do a lot of tailoring for that specific country. So in Colombia, because of the armed conflict, a lot of our components and the ways that these women are going face by face are based on the challenges that are happening in Colombia. So yeah, right, we're an NGO, of course, we live out of donations. We've been really lucky that a lot of companies and individuals have been so interested in joining this movement of being part of what we're offering, because it's something that has never been explored in the coffee industry. And they also believe it is the starting point for gender equity. So the way that you can do it, first of all, is sponsoring a woman. So the way that you can do it is donating $25 monthly. I always, like, if you live in the US, $25, like 3 coffees and 3 cappuccinos, and that's it. So you can skip those 3 cappuccinos and help a woman access the program. And we also have another interesting campaign coming up in October, and it's our Give Back campaign. So we are looking for roasters and cafes. And the way we're doing is that they're choosing either a coffee offering or a drink from their menu, and they're donating 10% per bag sold or per drink sold to Sana during the month of October. So yeah, you guys can learn more in our website, that is sanaprograms.org. And we are gonna keep this conversation going. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And I'm gonna give the floor to Markela to introduce herself and give us more data that is coming from a psychologist, which I feel is a really important perspective to have, because I'm not a psychologist. We do have psychologists in Sana, but today we have the pleasure and honor to have Markela here to share those insights with us.
Lucia, thank you. Before Markela pops in, I would like to say a few things about Markela to present her myself. Markela, I'm very happy that you are here with us tonight. Markela, she is a member of IWCA Greece, but what is great about her and why she is here today is because she brings a unique combination of expertise. She has a master in clinical and counseling psychology. She is also specialized in special education, and she is also something that I don't know how to say it, an ICF accredited coach in matrescence. That means the well-being and psychology of motherhood. So I think that this background of Markela allows her to address mental health from multiple angles. So this is why Markela is very important here today, together with everything that Lucia has been doing all these years. So Markela, this is now your space and screen and voice.
Hello to everyone. It's an honor to be here. You can hear me well, yes? Is
Yes.
everything working well? Great. Thank you for inviting me. This is a very important talk, and I think the most important part was what Lucia described. It's the SANA program. What I am here to do today is to offer a little bit of perspective in the statistical part, to look a little bit, to take the lens a little bit further out and look into the statistics. I am going to share my screen, but I do want to see, am I supposed to first, Lucia, did you do the, as you were sharing your screen, did you have slideshow on Google? You had it on? Okay.
Yes, I
So
did.
first I'll put slideshow on and then share my screen. Okay. But if I put slideshow, I can't, hold on, view.
Yeah, I think you can share your screen first, and then you can click on
But
the
I can't see
slideshow.
anybody else. You couldn't see anybody. You were just presenting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting because you don't know the reaction. We hope they're happy and engaged.
That's a good one. Thank you. Okay. Hold on. I thought there was another option, but I guess that's with a PowerPoint. I'm very sorry about this. Okay, let me see. No. slideshow. Let me just give it
Boring,
one more
boring
shot.
at all.
Presenter view. Okay, so maybe I can do it that way. And share. But then, okay. Screens. Apologies for this. Okay. How does
Great.
this look?
Uh,
Looks good?
no, half of, yes, now it's
Excellent. Yeah.
good.
Now
Okay.
you can see the whole thing?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
great.
Excellent.
Perfect. Okay, I did it. Apologies for the time that this took. So, basically, women are playing a pivotal role in the coffee industry, especially in Latin America, especially in places like Colombia. However, they face the unique mental health challenges that are exacerbated by gender disparities, harsh working conditions, and limited support services. Like Lucia said, there is the stigma and there is lack of support and lack of how can I say this? Lack of uh, transparency and gender equity in order to get mental health. Actually, if we look at this globally, mental illness affects 1 in 3 women versus 1 in 5 men. And so this is a bit of a more general rating to understand how this works and what it's like for women in the world, not specifically in places that have um, the the lack of support that Lucia was mentioning. Therefore, when we look at it that way, for women coffee farmers, the risks become even higher. In Latin America, therefore, what we get and the Caribbean, the gender gap in mental health is especially pronounced. Oops. You can still see my screen, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry, something's happening. Let me just shut something down here.
We can see the screen. Everything is good, Markela, don't worry.
Okay, but something happened for me. It's stopping me from doing something. Hold on a second. I'm very, very sorry. I have to
If
shut
you
this
want,
down.
I could also share the screen for you since I have access to the slides. So that
No,
way
I
you
think
can
it's fine. I
relax.
solved it.
Okay,
I solved it. Thank you.
okay.
Okay, so anxiety and depression are about 1.8 times more common in women than in men. And what we see is that more specifically, anxiety affects 9% of men in Latin America versus 5% of women, and depression affects 6% of women versus 3% of men. Now, why does this happen? This happens because there is gender based violence. There are also unequal caregiving burdens, and the social expectations of women are different. More specifically, if we hone in on this, we have trauma and violence, and that has a great impact. 63.3% of women farmers report feeling disempowered as one of the main reasons, and domestic abuse being one of the main reasons why they feel so disempowered. And because of that, we have mental health issues that also affect productivity. We cannot expect women that are farmers, that are pickers, to be able to do their work productively and efficiently. If we take the human side and the psychology out of it, if we pretend that we don't care, if all we care about is productivity, even then, knowing these statistics makes us understand how impactful it is that they are not receiving the support that they need. There is a resource gap that's also very important to mention. So, rural Latin America only has 2.8 psychologists per 100,000 people, and those are mainly in rural areas, which means that the women that we are referring to who are in the farms have even less of that. So, we don't know the exact number, but you can imagine that even if we assume that there wasn't any stigma, even if we thought that, they have the time to go, even then, they wouldn't actually have the access because there aren't enough psychologists for them to go to. And this is compared to 30 people, 30 psychologists per 100,000 people in the United States. So, if we go more specifically into women in the coffee industry, it is said, and this is in the Sana reports. I got it from the Sana program website. It says 70 to 75% of farm labor is performed by women, and it is often unpaid and unacknowledged. So you've got women who are doing farm work, and this includes harvesting, processing, quality control. However, this does not end there. What happens after a 16-hour workday, basically, or 16, 18 hours is what they're doing is they go back home and they have household duties. And this is how society is shaped. And therefore they've got to do the cooking, they've got to do the cleaning, the water collection, but also they have to do the caregiving. And the caregiving includes children, and we're talking about quite a few children in a lot of occasions, but also taking care of the elderly and also following up with the community and being there to support their community, their neighbor, their sisters, their cousins, everyone. So if we put all that together, that's why it's called the triple burden. What happens is that when they are the main ones doing the particular job, but they are also going back home to a place where, as Lucia said, they also have conflict a lot of times with their partners. And there could be many, many reasons for that. But even if we strip out everything else, one of the basic things is how imagine yourself how tired you would be if you were doing this type of manual work outside in harsh conditions for so many hours when you know that it's not even remunerated, you're not going to get compensated, and it's not even acknowledged. And then you go back home and you have to do all the other things. One very interesting thing that Lucia said to me is that even because there is a distinction between coffee women farmers and coffee pickers, and therefore the farmers are assumed to have better conditions because they are assumed to be owners of the farm. However, usually, because of the way that things are, their name is not in the title, the property. It's their husbands, but they are the ones that are working the farm. And because it's their husbands, they don't get paid. Therefore, the picker might actually be getting paid, whereas the woman farmer is not getting paid because, in essence, it's her farm. So this becomes quite a burden to carry. And of course, you're going to have, therefore, issues in your relationship, in your home, with all of the things that you have to do. And with the fact that you've let yourself in the background. I mean, we do it in our societies. Imagine how it happens there. The majority of Latin America and the Caribbean nations allocate below 3% to mental health, which is well short of what is actually needed. And going into the business case for mental health and why it's important specifically in the coffee industry, and we're having this conversation today. Again, if we only look at the business perspective, the WHO reports that for every $1 that would be invested in mental health care, what we see is that there is a $4 return in improved health and productivity. More specifically, what that means is you've got less absenteeism, and absenteeism is being absent from work because I am sick, because I don't feel well, because of, anything, the violence that I've received, and therefore I can't make it to work. You have less presenteeism. Presenteeism is I show up to work, however, I am not really there. I can't be focused as much as I may want to be. This is not about intention. I want to be focused. I want to do a good job. However, I am exhausted. Triple burden that we talked about before. I am completely burnt out. I am unwell psychologically. I probably have psychosomatic symptoms. there's nothing that is supporting me being focused and productive in my work. And then we can see other issues here, like the quality control and worker retention. So this is when you put the SANA program evidence as well as the World Health Organization things. This is an illustration. The numbers are not exactly precise, but this is a graph to illustrate the difference that it makes to have mental health support in coffee farming. So you can see that the productivity level rises significantly and the absenteeism lowers significantly. So, way less absences from work when they receive mental health support. A lot of times, what we do, even nowadays, is that we separate mental health from physical health. However, this clearly shows how important it is that mental health is supported and how that impacts physical health. Without mental health support, quality control is lower and worker retention is much lower, which means you've got experienced coffee farmers and coffee pickers and women in the coffee industry who make up, let me remind you, 70 to 75% of the coffee workforce. And what happens is that if they're not supported, they are going to be leaving. They are going to leave the particular job, if they have the means, of course. But if they do, they are not going to. We're not going to be able to retain them. Therefore, I think I've made the case for how important the SANA program and mental health is for women in the coffee industry. I don't need to go over this, basically. The benefits of investment. Well, mental health support for women coffee farmers leads to more consistent harvests and processing, improved quality control, and attention to detail. If I am better, if I am not burnt out, I can be effective in my work. This is for every field in any place. Better retention of experienced workers, like I just said, and stronger community support for coffee cultivation. Social sustainability is also critical. So when women are struggling, and again, 70 to 70% of the workforce, the entire supply chain obviously becomes less stable. 20 to 30% of potential increase in farm output if women farmers have equal access to resources as men do. That is an estimation that is made. So imagine 20 to 30% is a huge number proportionately. In fact, what is actually quite interesting is that 43% of coffee consumers are influenced and say that they would prefer products that are ethical, environmentally friendly, or socially responsible, which definitely includes helping and supporting and backing these women. So we see that the long-term supply chain stability, communities with better mental health support will show greater resilience overall against climate change, against price volatility, and other industry challenges. So I don't want to take up more of the time. I want to get into the discussion because I think that's where the most interesting part lies. But I hope that this created a little bit of a well-rounded picture of what goes on in the background and in these women's minds and hearts, and why we need to support them and how impactful a program like the SANA program really is and what Lucia does. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Markela. That was great information that you offered us and a different perspective for all to see. I would like to start this conversation with you. I would like to tell us what really mental health means. What does it mean? Because most of us, most of the people around the world, they imagine something, but in reality, it is something else. So I think that it's very important to clarify the meaning of mental health and why is it important to start with this.
Okay, so mental health, that's a very, very good question. And thank you for asking it. Mental health, a lot of times when we say the term mental health, a lot of people still think about very heavy disorders, meaning schizophrenia or something heavy like that. But when we are talking about mental health, we are addressing anxiety, we're addressing depression, we're addressing burnout. All of these things are part of mental health. We don't need someone to have a particular diagnosis in order to say that we want to support them. I have actually I have a definition that I would like to share more specifically. The World Health Organization defines mental health as a state of well being in which a person realizes their abilities to cope with normal stresses, to work productively, and to contribute to community. So, in simple words, it is feeling safe within yourself and within your environment. Mental health, therefore, doesn't mean we can't think of it as deterioration. When I am unwell, I suddenly think of my mental health. Mental health is an overall state of being where I feel safe with myself. With what it is that I do with my capabilities, it includes self-esteem, and it also includes feeling safe in my environment with the people around me, in my work, in all the areas in my life.
Great. Lucia, your comment on this regarding we know from Sana that you preferred a more social and community approach rather than a clinical and diagnostic approach. I think that that would be the perfect time to tell us why was this your choice and how this helped, according to
Yeah.
also what Markela said.
Sure. Yeah, I think this is a perfect segue. Before I answer, I wanted to also add to Markella's definition. I also feel like mental health is also having the tools on how to solve issues that come on our day to day, and also understanding that life is not happy always and it will never be happy always, because I think that we have high expectations of how we have to live life. So if we don't have the tools, then we are expecting to be happy always, and if we're not happy always, then what's going to happen to our well-being? So I think that's also important to know about mental health and the connection with the physical health, which we have seen with women that have gone through a Sana program. Almost 95% of them told us that they have physical pain in a part of their body, and 95% of them suffer from a diagnosed illness, physical illness. And a lot of them suffer from high blood pressure. And that's that's correlated to having lack of tools to express your emotions. So this is not something that we are saying, this is something that they are suffering, that we have seen with the data. So why do we have an approach with Sana that is not clinical psychologists? I believe in clinical psychologists. I've done clinical psychology and I've done treatment, and this is why I'm here. I was diagnosed with severe depression, and who knows what would have happened if I hadn't accessed the proper treatment. But when we talk about women, as I was mentioning before, that, as Markela said, have never accessed resources, not because they don't want to, but because there are not resources in where they live, we cannot approach them with a clinical psychology program. We cannot say, okay, Sana is here to offer you a treatment and a diagnosis to know if you're sick and if you're depressed. And then with 6 sessions, we're going to cure you from all your illnesses. That's not how it works, right? It takes a lot of time, effort, introspection, understanding on the world around you, and understanding yourself. So because of that, the approach that we have in Sana is called salutogenesis. And basically is how can we support these women to live healthier lives? Always thinking of their context, where they live, who they are, who is around them, and what tools do they have now so they can start that process, so they can open that door of well-being and mental health. So we do it this way. We do it with social psychology. We don't offer a treatment. We offer support that is integrative, that has an educational component, because Before anything, we need to know what we are doing and what things mean and what they're important. And even in cities, people don't know what mental health is. So imagine now a woman that has a low educational level, which is the case for Sana. 52% of these women haven't finished even primary school. Again, not because they don't want to, and a lot of the times because they were not allowed, they had to stay at home, or because they didn't have a school nearby. So the way we approach it is this way. We offer some sessions so they can start exploring, so they can start seeing with their own eyes what therapy is. And a lot of them, because this also has to do a lot with personality, you can have the most educated person and you can send it to the best psychologist in the world. But if that person is not open to start working on themselves and it doesn't have introspection, that person is not going to start that healing process. So we have seen with some of these farmers that when they do 2 sessions, they say, my life changed. Like oh my God, like I realized so many things. I'm changing the way of thinking. I did this and that. And then we're seeing others that we offered the 2 sessions and they say, it was good, but I don't need any more. And then we have a percentage of them that they say, I need more. So we always align with the psychologists that work for Sana and the participants. And with the 20% of participants per cohort, we offer them a deeper care. So we offer them a 3-month treatment, not because we want to mandate and say all of them need it. No, the ones that really need it are the ones that get access to that deeper care. And this is really important to say again, because in the coffee industry, and I don't mean to criticize everything, because I think a lot of programs have been really helpful. And I've seen it with my own eyes because that's what I used to do. I used to be on the ground documenting these programs from 0 to 5 to 50% to 100%. But I believe that a lot of programs in the coffee industry have been designed by experts, but these experts haven't been in the fields. These experts haven't interacted with those communities and those women. So they mandate and they say, this is what we need. This is what they need to do. And I've heard so much from coffee companies that their gender equity programs are not working because they're telling women you need to attend 10 trainings and they're not going. So why are they not going? And we just discussed this because they don't have the time. They cannot leave the farm. That's not their priority. They have other things on their mind. So I feel to close this up, social psychology is really important because really what we're doing is to be able to work on their well-being so they can have more bandwidth to, as Markela was saying, prioritize their work, be motivated to do more, have space in their minds to think about what do I want next? Where do I want to go? But if you don't have that space and you have this incredible emotional burden on top of you since you were a kid, and then you have all the emotional burden from your family dynamics and all the emotional burden from your business, then you have no space to think about anything more. So Sana, what it does is create bandwidth, emotional bandwidth, so these women can really start processing all those things, developing their own tools, because we don't give them the tools, they develop the tools themselves of course, with the support of a professional, so they can start prioritizing other things in their lives.
Great. Thank you, Lucia. I would ask Markela, based on what Lucia said, why these women, as soon as they feel the same, they have the same feelings and they are from the same region, village, farm, why don't they talk and discuss how they feel between them? And why did they feel free to open and to discuss to Sana people? Is this something that also happens around the world? Or it's something that maybe because of their very unique situation, very difficult situation is happening there? What could you say about that?
I would say it's something that happens around the world because we're talking about a universal feeling, and that feeling is that of shame. So, what happens is what Sana has done is that it has validated that there is something that is heavy, as that is burdening me. Before a program like Sana, both you and I may be feeling the same thing. We may both be in the field in the moment. However, you're not saying a word. I am not saying a word. No one around us is talking about this as being a problem. And therefore, I feel I'm alone. I feel I'm the only one. And internally, I feel shame about the fact that I am the one here that is feeling this way. It seems that all the women around me who are doing a similar job to me are able to cope. They don't whine or talk about having to go home and do their caregiving duties and their household duties. And so unless someone begins this conversation, which is so tough, when someone has not begun this conversation, then what happens is we feel shame. We shame ourselves thinking, I'm the only one that feels that way. Everybody else seems to be fine. And so, even though it would seem the most obvious thing to do for us women in the field who are in a similar situation with the same culture, with the same issues, that we would be the ones creating our own community and talking to each other. And that's a great question that you're asking. We are not going to do it because no one is validating this as an actual issue. So I must have a problem that I feel this way. So Sana took the shame away because now I can go and I can talk to someone about this. Number one, because they recognize it as a problem. And number two, because I will not have to worry that when I tell the person next to me that this is going to become an issue, that they're going to share it with other people I know. This is a close-knit community, and it's not going to make me feel awful about myself.
Great. Thank you very much, Markella. I would like to continue with Lucia. And Lucia, we talked about the women, we talked about the burden that they have, but I would like you to point out, like a to-do list, 1, 2, 3, like a bullet point, how is to picture, like you take pictures, the everyday life of these women. So they wake up at 5 a.m., for example, just to make it clear for us, in order to see how you have managed in Sana to help them find time for themselves in order to communicate with the psychologist, to communicate with you through their phones or the internet or whatever it is that you do. But I want you to be very specific and short in order to imagine this as we see 5 photographs. Is it okay?
Yeah, totally. Well, what I will say is that a lot of people that work in the coffee industry, we're biased and we feel that all farmers are the same. And that's not the case. So from all the women that have gone through the pilot and now the ones that are enrolled in Sana, all of them are so different, like not only in age, but the region, what they've gone through, and their lives, the way they live life. So for me, it would be impossible to put them all in the same bucket because I feel that is the main problem that we are suffering in the coffee industry. We see farmers that they're all the same. And we're realizing they're not. They're rich farmers that should not even be called farmers, in my opinion. So what I can say about Sana is that a lot of these women start the day pretty early, not because they're forced, but because that's the way that it's always been done culturally in Colombia. So they will start the day at 5 a.m. They will do maybe some labor with the farm. Maybe they have cows and they have to milk the cows. That could be one woman. But then you have another one that maybe she has to take the kids to the school. So that there are two differences there. And then there's another one that maybe she has to start cooking for workers at 5 a.m. too, because they have a big farm. And in the harvest season at 12, you're going to have 50 farmers that you have to feed. So this is to say that all of them are different. Because all of them are different, we cannot create a program that has set schedules and set dates. So that's when Sana comes and adapts. So what do? We adapt to each of these women's schedules. We talk to each one of them. We know when they have the time. We know that maybe we start a program today and they're in peak of harvest. So a lot of them will have to access the services in the evening, and maybe in 3 weeks they're going to be done with that and they're going to have more free time during the day. So we continue to collect data not just for the sake of then saying, look at the amazing work we're doing, but because we use this data actively to be able to adapt and to provide the best program for each of these women. And that's why I believe Sana is tailored to them, like to the bone, super tailored. So we have psychologists that are seeing participants at 5 a.m. And then we have other psychologists that are seeing participants at 9 p.m. So this is why they're able to join and is more accessible, and they feel they can fit it in that crazy VC life they have. Because like I always say, like we don't call women coffee farmers superheroes because they don't have time for themselves. So we cannot call them superheroes. And we cannot call these women resilient because what else? Like when we talk about resilience, they already have resilience. We cannot make them more resilient. What else can they, how else can be they like resilient? So this is the way we're doing it. So we are constantly adapting. We follow each of these women's schedules, constantly talking to them. And the other aspect is because we work virtually, there is a big challenge that we have, and is the technology infrastructure. I was apprehensive when I did the pilot in 2023, thinking that maybe a lot of these women didn't have the access to internet and they were not able to access the services. But to my surprise, 100% of the women that have gone through the pilot and that are now enrolled in Sana, they have access to internet. Of course, if maybe there was a storm that happened that morning, they might lose connection and signal for a few hours, but we also have that in our included in our program. So we know that we have to reschedule. We know that we have to wait. We train and onboard each of the psychologists that are part of Sana so they understand the context of the type of patient that they're seeing, because we cannot put them in a single bucket. We have to see each of these women as individuals. And I think this is why they also feel open and they want to continue and they want to be part of Sana, because they feel they are being heard. Not only that the psychologist is there hearing, but we're actually hearing them and understanding how their lives are and how they can fit this into their schedule. So that's the way that we do it. It's impossible to do it in a bullet point, again, because it's impossible to put all of them in a bucket. That's why.
I understand it totally, and it was just in order to bring a picture of how their lives are. That was the reason of my question. And also I would like to say that what you do is really, really difficult, because as you said, you have to adapt, and that is not something that we are all used to do, especially in the Western world. We need the things in our way, in our plan. So this thing that you do is really difficult in order to communicate, to schedule, to do everything and to adapt. So the people that you are there are really admirable. One last question, is because I think we have taken much time and we need the people that are here today to make questions. Lucas, are there any questions that they have written, or we would like to give them the option to have a hand and ask some questions? Are there any questions yet?
So far, there were not really questions in the chat. So if any of you would like to ask something, just either, yes, write in the chat that you have a question, or just raise your hand and then we'll give you an opportunity. Meanwhile, we can, of course, fill up this time with questions. I also have two questions which arise during this presentation from my side, which I think could be relevant. So it's up to you, Artemis. How do we proceed? If you have one more question from your side, or I should ask.
I think that I would like to ask Markela if she has anything to do, because in her presentation, you talked about mental health and how it is connected with the whole industry, the mental health of the women, either in the productive countries or in our countries. It's something that we should connect it. And if you want to add something to that, to all the percentages and the data that you gave us, I would like us to share it with us.
So to make sure I understood the question correctly, to add to if there's any more statistics that are relevant in terms of productivity and mental health.
Why the mental health matters to the whole coffee industry, if you have to add something to that.
Well,
apart from the statistics.
I'm going to get personal here. I love coffee. You know that about me, Artemis. I absolutely love it. I drink way too much coffee. And what I appreciate is high quality, and I appreciate good coffee. And I also appreciate, as a person, sustainability and obviously mental health. The reason why mental health links is because of the things that Lucia and I have been talking about. It's basically that we cannot separate the human aspect from the worker. We cannot treat people as though they are just machines. And in fact, I actually read, and I didn't share with you, I read an interesting number that the industry loses about $1 trillion due to the fact that it doesn't take care of the mental health aspect. And that 1 trillion comes out of missed work. It comes out of physical health issues that have to be paid. It comes out of people that leave, and then you've got new comers who are not as experienced, who need more training. And therefore, like Lucia said, what's the point of having these trainings in order to up the quality, in order to do quality control and production and all of these things, if we are not using mental health as the basis? If I am unwell, how am I able to show up in my work, whatever work that is? And like you said, it's all connected. How am I able to show up and be the my best self and be productive and effective? So I love the fact that Lucia underscores that all these trainings are great. We need the tools, but the tool that is necessary, the tool that is the foundation, is how do I develop the skills in order to cope with daily life?
Great. Excuse me. Great. Thank you, Markella. So let's go to the questions now. If someone has some question, we would love to hear it, because we're not here today to speak only ourselves, but we want to hear your comments. It might be only a comment, it doesn't have to be a question. What do you think, Lucas and Diana?
Yes. We have two questions in the chat. So the first
Great.
one from Sunny is actually a question which combines a bit with what I was thinking, and so I can extend this question a little bit, because Sunny asks, what would be the next level once the woman opened the door and it becomes like a Pandora box? Because I was also thinking about it, that on one hand, the program is absolutely amazing into empowering an individual, an amazing woman who finally might feel more hope, feel lighter, feel empowered to take care of herself, and at the same time feel valued and find time for herself to take care of herself. But at the same time, might be, first of all, might be some topics which are just arisen, like some traumas which are just absolutely not surface-like, and something which really needs more professional help and a longer process. But at the same time, I was wondering if Sana in its program also has a part of how to not only make the women more vulnerable, but also strengthen their back for the potential backlash from the community and the family. Because very often our families, or I assume families of the coffee farming women, they don't like the new version of a woman. The partners, they don't like that she wants to take care of herself, that she is not so, passive in her life anymore, that she actually has her needs, that she starts to have boundaries. Boundaries are amazing and obviously very important to have, but boundaries also by people who are abusive around us. And it not doesn't need to be partners. I can imagine it can be even your grandmother in the family who also went through so much. She had an absolutely difficult life, and subconsciously she feels she doesn't deserve it, but also her daughter, she needs to go through all of this. She also needs to put this mask, has of this defense mechanisms which she also developed through years, and she doesn't like the new version of her daughter, this more vulnerable, more awoke, more taking care of herself woman. The one who actually dares to smile and dares to want to have enjoyment and happiness in her life.
Super. So there are two questions there. So the first one is the one from Sang-Yi and the one Sanji, sorry. That what will be the next level? And what if there is like a Pandora box that it gets open? That is possible, and that is possible with anyone. So we have three ways that we contain this because we have thought about this. It's not that we're just leaving the women there and whatever, suffer. That's not the way that we have approached this. So the first thing that I will say is that, as I was saying before, you cannot mandate for all of these women to do a treatment because a lot of them don't need it. And 2 sessions were enough. When you talk to psychologists, and we can ask Markella after I finish, a lot of psychologists have told me people come here, they do 1 session, and they never return. So that's something that happens a lot. So then if you're offering a woman already 6 months of therapy, she's going to say, no, this is like a huge commitment. I don't know if I want to do this. I don't even know what it means to do what I'm going to do. They're open because we approach it in a way that is about their well-being. So that's why we don't offer a whole treatment of 10 sessions, 6 months, because then these women will not do it. What we do is that through the sessions and the program, we start collecting data from the psychologists, and they are the ones that inform us of which individuals who within their cohort needs that deeper care, who opened that Pandora box and needs deeper care. So right now we offer it to 20% of the women in each of our cohorts. So if we have a group of 10, 2 women get that deeper care. They get chosen by the psychologist, then we invite them. And if they want to continue, they can continue. If they don't want to, you cannot force, because again, we're talking about humans here. It's not a machine that you just say, let's continue like running this machine. And then they get the deeper care. The deeper care is 3 months of therapy. There is not a number for how much therapy a person needs. Sometimes 2 sessions is more than enough. And sometimes people need years. I've been in therapy for 10 years and I still feel I need it. And I know people that went through the pilot and with 2 sessions, they felt that it was fine. And the third thing is that we do have an emergency budget. So if there is more than the 20% that need the deeper care, we are able to offer that. They're able to access that deeper care. And we have done a lot of research, and we have created a database with all the free services in Colombia for mental health, not only for women, but for men and for children. So in different parts of our program, we keep sending this information. What it happens is that a woman, coffee farmer and picker that goes through a SANA program now understands why this is important and why I might need it, or my husband needs it, or my kid needs it. And now they're going to be more open to reach to those lines that are free in Colombia and get that deeper care from a professional too, from the Colombian government, because I do believe that this should be the responsibility of the government. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way. But we are like the starting point, and they're open now and they understand. So we do it that way as well. Throughout the program, all the women can reach out to the psychologist at any moment through voice messages, text messages, so they're hold. And even the moderator of our program, the program assistant, she's also a psychologist with a master in social psychologist. So if there's something that happens and the psychologist cannot pick up, they can reach out to the program assistant, and she can also provide that support. And lastly, what I will say is that all the women that go through the SANA program, they are also invited to join a group that is called SANA Global. And in this WhatsApp group, we continue to provide wellness and mental health resources. And right now we have 95% of the women that did the pilot, they're on that SANA program, and monthly we continue to share this information. We continue to share all these free resources in case they need them. So that's all the ways that we hold these women and we protect them and we care about them. And then what about the next level? Yes, that's something that I think about daily, because I do believe that a lot of the women that have gone through the SANA program this year, in 3 years, we can offer maybe a clinical psychology program where they can now do a treatment because now they have a better understanding of what they need. But you have to start small. We cannot think that we know everything. Maybe as Anhi, she is from a coffee community because I know her. So she might know people around her and she might think that they need it. But one thing is thinking the other one person needs it. The other thing is being sure that she or he wants to do it. And I think that's what takes time. We always have to consider those things. Sometimes it's not the right moment for a person to start talking about something. And then to answer your question pretty briefly, Lucas, yes, this is something that I often think about. It's something that like keeps me awake at night, thinking that are we gonna cause issues within their families? Are they gonna change so much that now the men are gonna come back at us and say, what are you doing with my woman? Like she's so different. So we currently are developing some content that we want to provide to their husbands at the beginning of the program and to their families so they can see what we're doing, and the women are encouraged to share all the content that we send weekly to their partners and their family to play it. We have a lot of therapeutic tales that they can play, and it's like a short story, because at no point we are like dividing here and saying men are bad and this is what you have to change. It's the opposite. It's opening to change. We have to start seeing things differently. And I think creating cultural shift takes a lot of time. And again, it has to come from within the community. So yeah, hopefully in a few years, I would love to have a program that is for men coffee farmers, but it will have to be completely different because men are less vulnerable, they're less open to talk about how they feel. But this is something that really I think a lot about this, and we are even gathering content from surveys at the end of the program where we ask women this. Did this cause an issue for you within the family? Have you heard any comment from your husband or your partner or your workers? Because we want to start understanding if this is in fact causing something and then we have to address it, or maybe it's not causing something and they feel that they were able to manage it and navigate it themselves. So yeah, it is a complicated topic, and I feel that no program is going to be perfect, and you have to start somewhere and then you can build from there and really tailor it and start understanding how best you can approach a community.
Thank you, Lucia. I think Marilena raised her hand previously. Marilena, do you have some comment or question to ask us?
Yes, thank you, Artemis. Well, it's just fantastic, Lucia, what you're doing, and Markela made it clear how impactful and important all of it is. I just wanted to put it on a practical level, and what can we do as chapters, as people from consuming countries? How can we be helpful and support you in this endeavor, your project? What can we do?
And I believe, excuse me, Lucia, that everyone that is listening to us and seeing us right now, and everyone that is going to see this webinar online in the time to come, I think that they should know what can we all do in order to help Sana and to be by your side to do greater things. So I think you mentioned some things previously in your presentation, Lucia. Just tell us again in order to know. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. So I think if you work in the coffee industry, which I feel like most of people here do, the first thing is to start including mental health in the sustainability agendas of your company. If you hear there's a budget for social responsibility initiatives or for sustainability initiatives, start mentioning mental health. And start mentioning not only for women coffee farmers, but within your company. So that's the first thing. I feel that sometimes maybe we have overlooked this, not because we intentionally did it, but because we don't think that it's important. We don't think that's the priority. So start mentioning mental health and start mentioning, I know a program that is doing this, and then the conversation can start from there. So that's one aspect. The second aspect is what I mentioned before. If you are a roaster, if you are a cafe, or if you work in a roaster, or if you work in a cafe, we have this campaign that is coming up in October. So it's going to be October 1st to the 31st. where we are collecting donations. So it's only 10% from one offering of your menu, either a coffee like bag, a coffee offering, or a drink. And 10%, the idea is that right now we have 11 roasters and cafes that have joined already, have said that they're going to participate. The idea is that we can collect all this money all together, and it's like a big force when a lot of companies join, and it's not a lot of money. I think like there's many ways that companies can include this in their annual budget. Like this initiative is once a year, is nothing really for a company. So that's the other way. And lastly, if you're an individual, maybe you work in the coffee industry, but your company doesn't want to do anything, any donation is welcome. So $25 is really helpful for us. If you can do it monthly and you can do it in a year, you will be sponsoring a woman. But if you can do it once, that's also helpful for us. So that's the other way. I also saw a question of someone that said that if you cannot donate money, how can you help? So there are a few things that I think people can help with. So at the moment, and I wanted to put this here so people can scan it. Give me one sec. So at the moment, two ways that you can help Sana without requiring donating money. One is that if you already work with a group of women coffee farmers from Colombia and you think they might be suitable for this program, please connect us with them, because we're constantly expanding our database of different groups. So that's one way. And the other way is that if you're a Spanish speaker and maybe you have any studies on any like wellness, mental health, like field, we're also always looking for volunteers. We offer a space of half an hour for volunteers within our workshops. So to give you guys an example, we have an upcoming workshop for a Sana cohort, and we have a volunteer that is going to give us a talk about integrative nutrition, because mental health is not only about our psychological health. We also need to talk about physical health, and nutrition is a huge part. So that's the other way that you guys can do it. Or if you have any other ideas, I always think that with such incredible group of people here, so creative and intelligent, there are always more ideas that people think about. I can do this. We've done copying sessions where we have collected donations too. So yeah, those are all the ways, and you can reach out to me through this email that is info@sanaprograms.org. You can also go on our website. All the information that Markela sent is in our website in more in detail, with links to all the different papers, information about our pilot. And if you join our newsletter monthly, we send a newsletter with the information and data about our current active cohorts. So that's another interesting way to see what's happening in the field with Sana and the impact that we have been creating.
Thank you, Lucia. I think that we should finish all this great webinar here. What do you think, Diana and Lucas? As we can see the Sana programs, the QR code that everyone can see. Are we okay? Is there anything else? Just a last thing, or we're finishing this today?
I think we can, the conversation should continue. So if you ever want to reach out to us and you want to get engaged through social media of Sana, you can also keep asking questions to all of us who are invested here in this webinar. I think all of us are open to continue the conversation later. I see, for example, really nice comments from Sanji. And I really would like you, Sanji, to connect with Lucia, and maybe you can try to do some things together. Because you have a really like also very nice perspective of what you're doing from your side to support it. From my side, just to say how indirectly, in my opinion, you can always support Sana is no matter which part of the coffee supply chain you are, if you're a roaster, if you're a cafe owner, barista, or just a consumer, pay a fair price for coffee and choose the ones who support fair price for coffee. Then you will always indirectly support Sana, because when there is no money at the producing farms, there is no money for and time and priority for mental health, because it's always just going to be work, 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 and we need to stop this stigma. We need to start to destroy the boundary and the difference between global north and global south and producing countries and consuming countries. We as consuming country members, we have the responsibility to pay a fair wage for this absolutely tremendous work which happens at the coffee origin and which this woman need to go through. That's why we need to pay fair price for their coffee. So if you go out for a coffee, choose a cafe which has beans which were fair sourced. And my dream, if I can just share it with you, I see all those stickers on packages of coffees which say like fair trade, Green Coffee Alliance, whatever, eco, bio, whatever things, which a lot of them, as we know, is industry marketing. I would love to see a Sana sticker saying this is a coffee from a producer who went from a Sana program and to promote it this way, because I think this is really would be really valuable and would really show the direct impact of how we can and direct way how we can support by buying coffees from those producers and elevating their lives further, not only through the Sana program. So that's from my side. Thank you so much, everyone. If you have some last words, each one of you, just let us know and we can wrap up.
I think it's better to wrap up. I would love the wrap up to be from Diana because she is the one that didn't speak just a little bit. I would like to thank you all that you have been here today, especially Lucia and Markela. A special thank to our president, Marlena Cuido, that if she wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here today with all of you. And I would like to say that, as Luca said, that it's this webinar, I think for me, it's just a start for feeling like a community. Either we are in Spain, in Greece, in Germany, in Colombia, wherever in the world, to feel that we are a community and that anything that happens in our community, we can share it with the others. So as a backup of this webinar for me is that there are people out there that need help. There are people out there that can offer help, and that might be one of us, and that this is happening and it's real. It's really, it can happen. So that's for me. Thank you very much. Diana, if you want to say some last words, please, and we will say hello to everyone here. Goodbye, and we will see you again somewhere in the world.
Great. Thank you so much, Artemis. I think that you guys did amazing. I learned a lot through this webinar. I feel very proud of you, like every one of you. I learned something very new. So as Markela was saying, like this is like validation that we are not alone, that many of us, we had some struggles starting from my side. So that's why I empathize. It was easy for me to be empathic with the work of Lucia, because I think that every one of us has its own journey. I would also like to thank Lara, because she has an amazing voice, and then I've been translating from Spanish to from English to Spanish. Thank you so much. Your work is silence over there for us that we are speaking in English, but for sure you are here with us. I would love to also thank my co-founder, Chantal is over there. She's also very in touch with mental health. So yeah, and she's been supporting me a lot. So if we keep like a team, it's important for us to check on each other. So thank you so much to everyone. Keep the conversation going, as Luca said, and welcome to contact us anytime and go through to Lucia, write directly and support Sana projects. That's all from my side.
Can I just say, before we close, that I'm really proud that we have starting, collaborating with each other, and it's just the beginning. We can all together, we can build such a really, really wonderful and supportive coffee industry. So let's continue this way.
Absolutely. See you in Milan. I'm going to host.
Milan. Okay, let's meet up in Milan.
Let's do another
Excellent.
collaboration there. Okay, see you everyone. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.